Indeed. The PS4 is the PS4 dying as well. The PS4 Pro dying as well. Well, it's. I mean, I guess we can go into talking about the stories here. Bring Heather in.
I got this mic.
Oh yeah. It's probably this here.
I tell you what, it's actually, I know Graham does it perfectly. I find it hard to run the teleprompter and monitor the pace while I'm reading and emoting.
It is one more thing to be tracking.
Well, there's reading, looking at the camera, making sure your face isn't doing something unpleasant, making sure you're getting the intonation right, going fast enough to be snappy, but slow enough to be understood, but also having to remember where that, like, also, like, because the teleprompter auto scrolls, which is usually fine, but sometimes not. So you have to devote 10-15% of the brain just to monitoring that, otherwise you goozle yourself later.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, the Sony story. Heather wrote that one, and
Good job.
I love so much the idea of Sony making a Mario
Luigi reference.
A Mario reference, yeah.
Right? I even tried to find other characters that did that, just in case maybe it was secretly some other kind of reference. And then I was like, you know what, Luigi.
But I think, and someone was saying, like, wait, is the PS4 Pro also end of life? And it's like, and I think the problem is that, yeah, because of the PS4 Pro, it doesn't seem like the PS4 has actually been around for that long, even though it has. Like, it's been around for what?
Since 2013. I put its tombstone thing on the.
Oh yeah. So 2013, 3 years left. It's 2018. So 2021.
Yep.
That's about how long Sony expects you to get out of its
8 years.
hardware.
The PS3 lasted 10.
But the PS3 was rather long in terms of its life cycle. It was longer than most.
Yeah, also I think the PS3's challenges may have contributed to like a longer dev cycle for the PS4. Sort of like a, oh, whoa, what have we learned here kind of deal.
5 years since the PS4's bit? Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah, that was a while ago, wasn't it? Feels like only yesterday we were trying to get that many PS4s together.
I'm okay with an 8 to 10 year hardware life cycle, to be honest with you. These are expensive machines. I don't want to buy them every 5 years.
Well, but the problem is that these half cycle ones, the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X, means that it seems like it hasn't been very long since the console came out. And so it seems weird that they'd be entering their end of life already, but it's like, plus what they mean by end of life is not like it's done. It's just they're working on the new one and all that good stuff.
And then they expect it to be out in 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 to 8 years seems fine. Yeah, I'm fine with longer. Like,
yeah,
let's not create so much waste in the world, right?
PS2 stopped being sold the same year the PS4 was released. Yeah, I mean the PS2 was exceptional in that way. That it was one of the the sort of most successful setup consoles. All right.
A huge install base. All right, so what was all the news that was fit to chitty chat about this week?
I will tell you that, I mean, it feels like we're saying this a lot, but it was definitely tough to get the news this time.
Well, it's the Memorial Day weekend in the U.S. too.
That's true.
Yeah.
The combination, the Memorial Day weekend, and I mean, we talked about Battlefield 5, but partially because of the Memorial Day weekend, partially because E3 and stuff, it seemed like that was like so much of the news was. It was just like the only interesting thing that was happening.
Here's what to check out at E3. It's like that. Okay, right? You know.
E3 is coming. Then there'll be so much news.
Yeah. There'll be a glut of news. Yeah, there's like the tide is coming out. It's like, and then we're going to be hit by the E3 tsunami, right? We're standing in the bay of gaming news being like, where'd all the water go? Because there's an earthquake in Los Angeles. I could just keep spinning this metaphor out. I can make it more strained and stretched and painful.
All right, so secret Dark Souls level, which is just silly.
Yeah, it's just kind of neat. And then, yeah, somebody got it running into GTA 5. Apparently by reading tutorials, because they didn't really break down how this happened. And I was just like, I mean, I've read a lot of tutorials for how to do things in Photoshop and after Final Cut. So, yeah, I can see it. I've just never thought to apply it to this. So
I'm assuming that GTA, because GTA has, you know, more like hacking tools and stuff, I'm assuming it was just they needed a engine to put the level into, and that happened to be one that worked.
I think GTA 5 is like particularly like well known for being like sort of like flexible and what it'll run.
I hope that it would be sweet if they could just like load all of Dark Souls into GTA, so you can just like tool around in a car and just like run over the various bosses and stuff. It's like, screw you!
I mean, probably. If you could get this, because if you could get this test level in there, you could probably get a regular level in there. And probably a lot of stuff would break, but...
Yeah, I mean, you can get like you probably can't get the actual like enemies and stuff, but it would be
maybe
super
you could
sweet.
populate with different enemies.
Or maybe you could find the test enemies. There's a thing I've heard where it's like, there's a bunch of code in games that they never remove because the idea is like, what if I remove that and I break everything, even though that's not supposed to be in there at all?
Well, yeah, it's not supposed to be in there at all, but what references this early test stuff? Better just to turn...
Yeah.
Just leave it in there. It's just some ones and zeros. It's really like test levels like that don't actually take up a ton of space. Typically what takes up the space on your disks is high-res textures, which wouldn't be referenced in a test level, and sound files, because theirs are typically uncompressed nowadays. So that will eat up a lot of space, but it's like, I don't know, somebody's going to reference this and it's going to break everything, so just leave it there.
And then, you know, people uncover them and be like, ooh, look at this guy. What was his deal? All right, so the Sony thing, there's not too much more info about that other than...
everybody prematurely panicked and thought that meant, oh no, new system today.
There is
somehow.
There is that aspect of like, you know, a lot of the big companies, you know, like Apple and Microsoft and Google and stuff, hold back on announcing the new versions of stuff as long, you know, they keep them secret for as long as possible because they're afraid that if you know that a new iPad is going to come out, then the sales of the current iPad is going to go way down. And I mean, 3 years out is pretty far out. Like if you want a PS4, you're not going to be like, well, I won't get one because in 3 years a new one's coming out.
Well, I was reading, I was looking up other articles on it just to see what other angles people might have been taking that story in, which were not a lot. But there was one person who was like, what does this mean for PlayStation VR? Because if the ports change, will the devs suddenly be like, why bother?
PlayStation VR is already underperforming, according to Sony, so...
Yeah. I mean, I know nothing about their VR, because I don't trust Sony with extra things like that. They always seem to not want to actually keep with a thing for a long time.
I feel like all the VR, of the various VR options, the computer-based, the PC-based ones seem to be definitely jumping ahead in terms of usability and software library and stuff. But actually, speaking of Sony dropping stuff, you see that they have also said they're like, yeah, we think we might really get into like mobile.
Oh God! So
it's like, come on, man.
It was how long ago since you were all like, you know what? There's no reason to have a mobile console device at all. Mobile gaming's dead. People just do it on their phones. Yikes. So we won't have anything to do with that anymore. Sorry, Vita. We know you're a great system, but nah.
Before we cut in, so this is
just move a little.
Yeah, it has been mentioned in chat and a couple other places. Total Biscuit died. That's not an appropriate thing to put on CheckPoint, so we're not discussing that.
In the same way we don't usually talk about like
people losing their jobs.
People losing their jobs and stuff.
Making fun of a person dying is kind of no.
Nope. All right, moving on. We talked about Battlefield.
Yeah.
A lot of people getting upset because there's women in it, and it's like, well, you know, women actually did fight in World War II. Russia. but you know, aside from that, It's not ever been a bastion of historical accuracy, which is, I believe, what all the developers said. They're like, we've always played fast and loose with the rules. Also, if you look at the rest of the trailer, it's just fucking tanks and airplanes at 10 feet off the ground flying into one another. There's other issues with this trailer if you're concerned from historical accuracy.
Well, and that GIF you found was amazing.
I didn't find it. That was thanks to an Australian games journalist, and thank God for him for doing my work for me of finding something ludicrous in that game. Because, I mean, like, there's a lot, but I don't play Battlefield, so.
And then there's the thing about the WoW, the new, what's his name? Brutosaur. The mighty
awesome.
caravan Brutosaur. And he's, yeah. I didn't quite realize the scale and diversity of WoW mounts until I was like looking into this. There's like several hundred different types of mounts that you can get in that game.
Oh, yeah.
And all with different stats and abilities and stuff. But there's this new section of mounts. There's only a couple of them that actually come with vendors. So there's like one that has there's just like a little dude riding on it. You can like go up to it and he'll like repair your stuff. But this is the first mount that's come out that has an auction house in it.
Yeah.
Which
It's just convenient.
yeah.
That's great.
But I just like, can you imagine? I don't know. It feels like it kind of takes away from the sort of like rugged individualist aspect of like the fantasy experience. You know, like you can't imagine like Lord of the Rings where it's like Frodo and Sam are like doing their thing, and just like the prancing pony is just like traveling along beside them if they ever want to relax.
I understand here. You think people should camp normally, and I think we should get an RV. Or rather, a giant brontosaurus.
I'm not saying it's like it wouldn't be comfortable. I'm just saying it doesn't fit with the like fantasy mythos. If you're
For me, I think that like it goes more out of like fantasy, and this is more like the kind of caravans that they have in Mad Max movies, or like whatever the thing that Jabba the Hutt was like partying on when they like drove out to the Sarlacc pit in the.
Yeah.
Was that what Star Wars movie is that? 3?
Yeah.
Yes. God, or not?
Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
The sand barge. Yeah.
Yeah, I've discovered in personal news that at a certain point, more sleep doesn't fix your problems.
But the somehow just the idea of, and it's not even like something, you know, a place to like heal or whatever. It's an auction house, right? So it's just, it feels like the you know, just that thing of like, well, I'll get my associates to go do this quest for me. I'll just sit back here and relax. Like it just doesn't seem, it doesn't feel like the same kind of mighty heroic quest thing when you have like the auction house right there.
But it's so convenient.
I'm all for the convenience. Heather, sign me up for your RV trip.
Right? Giant dinosaur? Let's go on a giant dinosaur RV trip, Kathleen.
Yeah, and let's bring a barista with a really good espresso machine, too.
Yes.
Excellent, yeah.
Yeah. The coming up with Star Citizen, which is still up to its old tricks. That game, $200 million in crowdfunding, $35 million of it last year.
Yep.
They're doing great.
Yeah, and yet $27,000 for the thing. But if you have to have already spent at least $1,000 on Star Citizen in-game stuff, or else they won't even show it to you.
Oh, wow.
If you go to the website, like if you go to the page, the linked page to find out about it, and you haven't spent $1,000, it just takes you to like the customer service page. Like it doesn't actually give you the deets about what it actually does.
No, and Star Citizen is
you. If you have to ask, you can't afford it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So you need a tie to walk into this establishment.
Yeah.
In other news we didn't cover, kids on YouTube keep making videos about scamming Fortnite V-Bucks from their parents. Basically, there's a whole genre of videos that are now online of kids say, and there's always kind of a similar naming schema, which is kid steals money from parents to buy Fortnite V-Bucks, brackets, lol, and brackets. And it's basically the one people that I think, Kotaku, or is this on Polygon? Oh wait, I can just look at
Kotaku,
Kotaku. Talk to her like, yeah, we obviously set this up. I wasn't actually yelling at my kid, and I mean, which is a great thing to say, even if you did yell at your kid. But God, maybe I can just send Penelope to some sort of like beautiful Swiss mountain boarding school where there is no internet access.
I mean, let's be fair. By the time Penelope gets into gaming, Fortnite's not going to be a thing anymore. It's going to be a different thing.
She's 2. She could.
It's going to be something else on like the PS6.
Yeah. And PS5 might still be around. Actually, it's probably going to be the PS5.
Yeah. No, you're right.
So, because, 3 years, so that's 5, and then, let's say it's got like an 8-year life cycle. That puts her right at 13. Oh my God.
Maybe we'll have better internet by then.
Or I could send her to that Swiss boarding school without internet access. Let's do that one.
Yeah, the genre of the sort of quote unquote prank videos.
Cat Too Cool says just be proactive and get her hooked on Animal Crossing early. Penelope loves the mummy game.
Yeah, no, that's not a hard sell.
Penelope loves the mummy game. She got mad at me this morning because she said, let's play the mummy game. And I said, no, no. We need to get you dressed and we need to get out of... She's in her bed. And she's like, let's play the mummy game. And I was like, no, if we play the mummy game, you sit beside me and we sit on the couch and we play it together. We don't play it while you're lazing about in bed relaxing. She doesn't like to get out of bed right away because she truly is my kid.
That sounds like how I play the...
To be fair, that's how I play Animal Crossing.
But I have strict rules on how we interact with screen time together, as in it's a joint activity we do together, or I need to poop. And then she's watching TV. But like, the mummy game is Animal Crossing Pocket Camp.
I feel like getting the problem with Fortnite in terms of spending money on in-game things isn't really solved by getting them hooked on Animal Crossing instead.
Well, because Pocket Camp has fucking loot boxes, except they're called fortune cookies. And I know the one person in the world who likes the Animal Crossing fortune cookies, which is Penelope, because the first thing she always says is, "Let's buy fortune cookies."
Well, yeah, because they're very bright and
colorful. So it's all working exactly as planned, basically.
Yes, exactly, exactly. You know what? You know who likes loot boxes? 2-year-olds. So.
Welp. We're doomed.
Mommy game, I assume, rather than mummy game? No, it's the mummy game.
All right.
I'm from New Zealand.
Yeah. So we've talked about this before, but Tencent has continued their objective to quietly own approximately 10% of everything. By buying a majority investment in the studio behind Path of Exile, which is it's a sort of a Diablo-esque game, but it's a very it's to me that's kind of interesting because it's a very sort of independent kind of game. Like it's a game that was like made by people who liked Diablo, but Diablo wasn't doing what they were like. It doesn't have enough really complex character customization stuff in it. I wanted to make it so they've been they've been working on Path of Exile for quite a long time, and then Tencent is like, hey,
it's interesting. Read this Kotaku article because it talks about how Fortnite and PUBG were kind of showing down a little bit last year when it wasn't sure like because Fortnite was the challenger and it wasn't yet the biggest video game in the world. God, that was a good 8 months for Bluehole, wasn't it? But of course, Tencent's laughing all the way to the bank because of course they own a minority stake in Bluehole, which makes PUBG, and they own 40% of Epic and the exclusive distribution rights to both games in China, which last time I checked was the world's largest country and one of the world's largest economies.
So it doesn't really matter to them who wins.
They made $3 billion last year! Tencent, do you want to come and buy a stake in Loading Ready Run? Only $1 million. Actually, wait, I'm not.
No, that's cheap. You should really up that.
1%.
We should up that.
You can have a 1% stake for $1 billion.
Yeah, that's better.
And then you can publish us in China?
Yes, we will let them publish us in China.
You can have the exclusive rights to this in China. Scary white woman. Yes, Apple has rejected the iOS version of the Steam Link app.
This is one of those. Yeah, I was super stoked about this.
Yeah, No reason given, but people assume it's because you can buy games with the Steam Link app, which would bypass the 30% cut Apple would get.
They've said that there's business concerns.
Yeah, that's probably correct. I mean,
so hopefully they can get it resolved, because the idea of playing Steam games like on my iPad or phone or whatever, just like wherever, seems super great.
Okay, no. Explain to me why you're excited about the Steam Link for this. It's because you can play this wherever you want?
Play Steam games wherever I want.
Yeah, they in your house.
Yeah.
Yes. You must be really close to your computer.
Yeah.
It doesn't work nearly as well as I want it to.
I have a small house, okay?
Yes, but I
can.
We all have small houses.
I
want to take my iPad to not my house and play my Steam games.
That's a different thing.
I want to play Stardew Valley with my iPad. Don't have a touch interface.
Can you just get Stardew Valley for iPad?
No, but I have it on my Switch, which makes that really less relevant.
Did Beige take your Switch to RoadQuest?
Heck no, it's mine.
Steam Link and normal Wi-Fi is a no-go? Really? Oh. Yeah. Well, that makes me sad.
It literally doesn't work as well as you think it does.
Oh. Okay. Well, I'm less excited about it then. But still, the principle I like.
Yes. I can agree to that.
There's an interesting story that wasn't really like CheckPoint newsworthy, although I really tried to find an angle on it, about how Full Sail, which is famous for doing a lot of like video game development stuff, being more hands-on, but also putting on NXT, because it's all like Full Sail, like it's part of their broadcast package to do that kind of stuff, is actually doing like sports broadcasting, but with a focus on esports, and they've brought in like sports, like it's a full interview with like a sports broadcaster. Full Sail, the home of NXT. Yeah, Full Sail is the NXT base. A lot of people who like wrestling know this. I know this because I live with Graham. So they do this kind of like hands-on training, which is unique for them, or unique in like like post-secondary schools. Like their idea is that they send you out with like real skills. They've brought in, they're doing a sports broadcasting thing, but they've brought in some professional former sports broadcasters to work and to like train people how to be better at esports broadcasting. Because like the big criticism is that esports broadcasting is great if you already know what's going on. And if you don't know what's going on in the game, it's fucking impenetrable.
Well, and they were talking.
Which it is.
Well, what's interesting though is like they were talking about the differences between esports and in that for esports, treading the line between people who are familiar with the game and new people is a lot harder. There's like if you're doing like baseball or football broadcasting, the person broadcasting taking a second to be like, they're doing this and they're doing this because blah blah blah, like giving a little explanation about like why the team might be doing a certain move, is total. Everyone accepts that it's totally normal. Whereas in esports broadcasting, there's often a lot of like, why are you dumbing it down like this?
Yeah, and for me, like because they were talking about how it's called shoutcasting, which is sort of like, what emerging, and they get very excited, which is very interesting and cool. But I think the criticisms in the article were that a lot of esports broadcasting doesn't explain what's going on. So if you're maybe not 100% up on the game, or maybe you're like a casual player, it's a lot of the commentaries going over your head rather than drawing you into the action, right? Which I find is a huge problem with esports broadcasting.
Yeah.
And it tends to be one excited wall of sound because,
I know.
Sick plays happen anytime.
I know. Dota, in some of their more recent things, Dota and League of Legends both have had like alternative streams with alternative commentary that's like for newbies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just to actually try to, because I feel like the MOBA type games in particular can be quite opaque. Yeah.
But here's what I would like to see is, and this is borrowing a book from the Magic coverage, is when you have people doing Magic coverage, you always have a couple of people on commentary, and this always bothers me because you have somebody like, say, for example, LSV or Paul Cheon, who's like a pro, they've been playing for years, they're really breaking down like the lines and like the very technical magical commentary. And then you have people like Marshall and Maria, which people always criticize for not knowing what they're talking about, not knowing about Magic, because they're asking questions like, oh, Why might they do that? And this is relevant. Why? Because they are asking the questions for you, the viewer's avatar. Because if you are not a professional Magic player, or, you know, amazingly, like, you put in 50 hours a week at League, sometimes these things are not as opaque, not as simple to understand as an expert might think. So a lot of the esports commentary is sort of like catered towards like people who like know exactly what's going on and want to improve their game, whereas like lots of people are watching esports, so you need to have somebody in there who's the representative of somebody who's watching it because it looks interesting, but they don't know the ins and outs of the system yet. So
the other thing they talked about was the idea of sort of moderating your commentary based on the significance of things, and saying that like for esports a lot of the time it can be difficult to see like in say like Overwatch, there's exciting stuff happening on the screen all the time. And so often the commentators feel the need to be like, and this guy's going there, and this guy's going there, and whereas not all of it is actually that significant, right? Like if people are like shooting each other and there's like big explosions and stuff, but they're not actually, you know, pushing the point, or, you know, they're not actually they may not be actually being that significant. And so you always hear like a really skilled, I love listening to like a really skilled like hockey announcer, the way they'll moderate their voice, being like, and then you pass it here, and then pass it here, and then it goes, and then it goes back. Like whether it's like so they can go up to like, it's like it gets closer and closer, and then it's goal, or that. And with esport, that's something that is obviously takes a lot of skill and knowledge about the game. And that's something that they have got to, you know, work on for these different games and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not saying the commentators on esports aren't good. They're frequently extremely good, but they just, you know, after a while, it just turned into this very, very fast-paced piece of jargon. And I think it's a little impenetrable. And
I think it's only in the last few years that companies have really seen the benefit of very professional esports coverage. The idea of like esports teams and stuff has happened for a long time, but for a long time they were just sort of like broadcasting it, and it's like, sure, whatever, people like to watch it. But it's only been in the last little while that, you know, people like ESPN and like companies have come in and be like, let's put some real money into this. Let's you know, get not only get the technical stuff of how to stream it properly and make sure it all works, but actually put the money out there, so you're not just like grabbing random people who happen to be good players of the game, but actually getting people who are experienced with commentary.
Andy1503 says, so being heavily involved in both League and Magic, I like Magic's ability to incorporate info for new players, but I feel it's so much harder with MOBAs because there's often feels like multiple games occurring at once. I think if you're running commentary, I think that you have to, like, this is me, I think you have to be prepared to maybe, there's a lot of stuff going on in a MOBA at one time. I think you have to be prepared to follow a thread of one player and talk through it for a little bit, and maybe you miss more stuff that's going on, but I think that's okay. I think it's okay to follow something and then to be on that for a minute and maybe explain what's going on and then check in another part of the map. But obviously if something crazy is happening, which is why you have, like, you know, you might just need more people running commentary, right? Or more people monitoring the game. I think it requires something more than the traditional sports commentary, which is two people watching a thing.
Well, and sports has a bit of a different setup where often there's breaks between like points going on, and they switch to maps and they can show people with arrows and things, but from what I've seen of MOBA games, it's just like, it's constant. Everything is still happening. There's none of these real breather rooms.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that there is more going on in a typical, especially like a MOBA or something where you have like, you know, say 10 people playing, or 8 people playing or whatever. Like obviously in like football or whatever, you have teams of a bunch of people, but they don't. You don't expect the coverage to follow every football player individually and learn about what his particular strategy is.
You're following the ball, right?
But in some of these things, they feel like they have to follow everybody. Or like, I mean, there's still like stuff like PUBG and Battle and Fortnite coverage, you know, but obviously there's 100 people. It's pretty hard to, you know, they're still working out how to broadcast that properly, in a way that makes it useful to understand. So
Yeah, I feel like esports deserves better. Like, I don't think esports commentary is bad, but I think it could be better. And so I'm excited that Full Sail is sort of like training a new generation of people to keep these considerations in mind.
And I mean,
It's neat.
when you think about the, like, and it's just, there's a matter of just like the priorities and time and, you know, money. Like, I know, you know, our friend Jason, who's doing video work on RoadQuest, also does sports videography as his main job. And the team of people,
My mic is
Mike's
crackling.
yeah, Kedling's mic's crackling.
Still?
Not right now.
but the team of people that does the coverage of a typical football game, say, is ridiculous. Like, and there's like 3 overlapping teams that do broadcasts for different purposes and stuff. Like, it's crazy how much time and money and manpower is involved in a typical sort of high-level sports broadcast. And esports is, you know, getting there, but it's still not quite the same.
It's relatively new. I think we'll be having a very different discussion in, like, 5 years or something like that, right? But that's okay. I just think that's neat. It's neat.
No, it's really cool that they're considering all of that and they're trying to make that better.
Yeah, and that old school, sports commentators from traditional sports are teaching and passing on their knowledge and and getting and showing new styles, people for doing esports, showing them some of the techniques and so forth.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think I have anything else to talk about.
Nope. That was all the stuff.
Not really a lot going on in
E3 soon, fellow stalker.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it's next week?
Next week.
Or the week after?
It's just after the pre-release.
Okay, so it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
it's like the 12th, I think, something like that.
And some people have asked about that, and yeah, we will endeavor to do at least some, assuming that we're allowed to, some sort of like restream commentary stuff on the E3 press conferences.
I hope so. I've enjoyed doing them in the last 2. I think we did them the last 2 years.
Yep.
Get snarky about whatever.
Sure, snarky.
People's outfits.
You go ahead. You be snarky. I'm just gonna jump up and down when they finally talk about a thing I've been wanting to have them talk about forever.
I'm so excited. How about if nothing else, if we can do the Sony stream, we should definitely get Heather and I on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for Sony. I guess we can let Adam in too. But what Monster Hunter news could there possibly be?
There's probably something.
He can
What
come
are
in.
you hoping for Sony news?
Just Atlas stuff.
Oh, I see.
Atlas.
Although they could be on Nintendo now. They're not tied to anybody.
I mean, they might be on both. They could be on both.
Ooh, a closed envelope prediction stream. That's kind of a good idea.
Ooh.
Like, make it a game. Put something on the line. Yeah, I would love to see something about Shin Megami Tensei 5, but I don't think we will because they announced it last year, which means it's not time to talk about it.
Does Atlas do their own?
No.
No?
As far as I know.
They don't do like a little press release thing?
Like
No.
EA and Ubi are like the only ones who actually...
Well, there's also the PC show,
right.
which hopefully will slowly get better over
Oh
time.
man. Another
Last
show
year's
of-
was way better than in the previous years, so they're working on it.
Yes, no, and that's fine. I'm not like, oh, PC games. I just want I want them to get better at it. Cuz I saw the one 2 years ago and I was just like, okay, growing pains. I know, but please.
Yes,
E3 bingo.
But yeah, the E3. I'm sure people probably already have like
there must be
E3
an
bingo
E3
stuff
bingo.
set up. Yeah.
We should make our own closed envelope prediction show. Though that would be quite fun.
It's just
That
gonna
would
be
be
my wish
hard.
list. It's just
Yeah,
gonna
we
be my
talked
wish
about
list.
this at the Askler on Saturday. The predictions was more just like we want this to happen, not we think this will happen.
It's how I like to play E3. It's just like wish hard, and you know you probably won't get it, but if you do, it's amazing.
Okay, let's, should we welcome some subs?
Let's welcome some subs.
All right, let's see if this works. Lord Ink Death for 27 for 17 months. Thank you very
Yay.
much.
Which way are we going? Marinus for 53 months. My boyfriend, Generic Evil Genius, has been praising me through subs, and now it's my turn.
Aw.
Love you, babe.
Aww.
Heart. Oh, that's really cute.
And Just Not Dave for 17 months.
Avayu for 18 months. 2 kids. I'm not ready for that responsibility.
Safari Man has returned for the 16th month. Welcome back.
It's your friend and mine, Retroactive Pancake for 14 months says, yay Paul and not Paul. Thank you, yay Paul and not Paul, not Paul.
James K902 for 6 months. 6 months already? Where does the time go?
Beteta. Beteta? Sure.
Betietta?
For 33 months. Subs.
Mantifold for 2 months says, yeah, more checkpoint. Yeah, you came back. Second month.
10th Tech Priest for 7 months. The rare Checkpaul resub.
Ooh. Seraph Alethea for 9 months. Woo, 9 months. Hello, sub baby.
Bimmerly is a brand new subscriber. Welcome to the channel, Bimnerly. Yeah.
The Flying Dutchman for 23 months. Almost a year. Good luck, you guys on the road. The Flying Dutchman. Time is weird for that.
Torpor120 for 11 months. So is Paul Alt Graham or Alt Beach?
I think he's just Paul.
Yeah.
Generic Evil Genius for 14 months. Woo!
48 months.
48 months.
The Man with No Name for 20 months. Someday.
Diste for 5 months. Well then, I missed Checkpoint. To the VOD!
Hooray! And Cranberger for 33 months says 33 months. In September, Super Mario Brothers will be 33 years old, which isn't really relevant, but I wanted to sneak a Nintendo reference into my sub notice.
Hi, welcome to my...
Loki X6 for 6 months. Half a year this time, a new personal best.
Bitter One for 15 months. Thank you for coming back.
It's Preachy. It's Peachy Prieto for 19 months says, my flat is too warm. Any suggestions on how to cool it down? Tinfoil over all the windows.
Gray Area Beyond is a new subscriber. Welcome.
Woo. Dead Rekka for 29 months. Welcome back.
And Fibblethip Lost But Seeking for 10 months.
Angry Optimist for 17 months. Heart.
Robots On for 6 months. Welcome back, robots.
Freedent for 15 months says, thanks Paul, Kathleen, and Hodor for keeping me entertained while your partners, bracket business, romantic, and beige respectively, are off pursuing some other crazy venture. Your beigeness partner.
Thymato for 11 months. 1 more month.
Fisher for 22 months. Checkpoint Live. Good. Tuesdays. Good. Monkey.
Fishor must be from Australia. And thank you for the 552 bits from Earthen One, Lord Crusher, the Flying Dutchman, Xanto69, Rock Pusher, and Mystaria.
Woo.
Yay.
Yay! Or at least somewhere else where they'd be like more than 12 hours ahead, which maybe it could be parts of Eastern Europe, right?
Yeah, I think
Perhaps.
so. Maybe. I don't really keep track of the
UK's
time
8.
zones.
Yeah.
I
It's
know-
gonna be 8 hours from now.
So, yes, Fisher does say, ew, Australians, but, I mean, yes, but still. Or New Zealand.
So, coming up, we've got nothing else for the rest of today, but tomorrow, Cam is going to be in bright and early for Dark Souls Remastered, which, if I recall correctly, involves driving around in a car, I think.
Yeah, I believe that's what I saw today.
Yeah. That's so. Cam is going to be playing that. I believe it's supposed to start at noon, but he plans on coming in earlier.
Yeah, he's very excited. He's a bouncy child. He's
And
excited to unwrap his Christmas present.
There is a bee in here.
Wow, that was a big bee.
Wow.
Bye,
okay.
bee.
We'll get that out in a second.
And then, assuming that Cam stops playing Dark Souls at some point, he and Corey will be looking at more of Stardew Valley.
Ooh.
on Talking Simulator tomorrow night. And then on Wednesday, you and Corey are going to be looking at the Little Nightmare.
Little Nightmare, I think.
Little Nightmares, I think is the
Little
name.
Nightmares on the Let's Nope.
Let's Nope. I told Corey to pick the game because I don't do horror games, so that'll be fun.
Okay. And then we'll be playing Jackbox in the evening. So
Woo!
check that out too. So all sorts of cool stuff. Please check out the events page just up there somewhere, or the live page, lingerie.com/live. That has all the latest schedule info. As always, this or as with last week, this week the schedule is a little wonky because so many people are away on the road quest. But
still full of good people.
Still,
I would say full of the best people.
Yeah.
Ooh.
On average,
I can say that because they're not here to hear
Yeah,
me.
Stay Home Club strikes again.
On average, I would say, yeah, maybe. I was talking about a little while ago that I bet if you ran all the streams through some sort of audio volume tester, the average volume level of streams the last week has probably gone down significantly.
It's been very quiet in the office, and I really like it.
Gekyoryu Jackbox is crossing the streams Wednesday night.
Yeah, so that will be 6 o'clock Moonbase time, which is also Pacific Daylight Time. So yeah, more Corey, Heather, and Paul and Kathleen this whole week. More than you can shake a stick at.
Heather's going to lock the doors before they get back. That is not part of my takeover plan.
I mean, they also have keys, so
It also doesn't work very well.
It's a foolhardy exercise designed for failure.
So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and we will talk to you more later. And I don't think I'm actually...
I can go
I think
over there.
yeah.
I'm going to go turn the thing off.
All right. I will use my remote control to turn it off from my phone, which I am doing right now. I have to load it up. Wait. Let me just load it up on my phone. And
Perfect.
And then it will go away.
Seamless.